But one of the benefits with Buffalo is you can't just make them magically appear.
Well, unless you get them to do the jiggy jiggy.
But don't right-wing racists use Zion.
And terrorists and yeah.
Are you a racist? Is that why you want to go on there?
I literally say it all the time, but the rule of thumb for all technology should be if criminals and racists are using it. If they're on it, then great, it's going to work. It's going to succeed. This history has it, you know.
Those sound like words of a racist.
Yeah.
It's our favourite brothers. They make all the best things.
The Bitcoin Bros.
Better than the Island Boys.
Island Boys.
The island. I'm an island boy. Well, here it is. Once again, the world's most bullish podcast, pod number 33, Dr. 10%, Mr. All In, myself, Son Never Look, and she was here, but she was never here, Mrs. No Show. How's everything going?
Pretty decent, man. Pretty decent. I got my speech on Thursday. We are presenting in front of 200 people at an award ceremony. I've got my Bitcoin speech already, so let's see how that goes.
Leads into
what are you going to do if someone jeers you?
Nice.
Will you shout out, "Have fun staying poor"?
Yeah, not going to make it. And yeah, I'm not actually going to know how to interact in a real life situation when I don't have memes and it's not on the internet. I'm going to be like out of my comfort zone. But
have you got PowerPoint
have you got
or anything?
What's that?
PowerPoint for any?
Oh no, it's just it's an after dinner speech, so it's not supposed to feel too formal. It's just like you get up there, you get on the podium. They're giving me an auto cue and stuff, and I've only used them a couple of times, and they're annoying auto cues. Like, because I find like you go on a rhythm of your speech, right? You go fast and slow and all that. They're just constant, so you have to talk much more like. And it's it's an art form to read off an auto cue. I know people think it's easy, but you go try it. Go read like 10 minutes of content off an auto cue that is going at exactly the same pace the entire time. You'll get ahead of it and then behind it at various times, and it's a fucking nightmare once you've lost your place.
If you can set your standard to be better than Biden at it, then you're doing all right.
I reckon I can beat Biden. He can't even read the auto cue. So.
Have you tried to, well, obviously it's 10 minutes long or so? Have you tried to just memorize parts of it just so that you can kind of have a little bit of a flow? And
that's the weird thing, right? If I just went up there and went, look, you got nothing, I could do it. I could do it now. I could literally give you the 10 minutes now. But like once you start giving me words, now I know exactly where I am. And if I lose my place, well, I'm gonna have to like chunk out and go into a different part of my brain to then start again. So it's going to be obvious, right? And
you're recording it?
Yeah. So you're
going to post it on YouTube?
I might. Yeah, it depends on the quality. Yeah, it depends on how it all goes and all that.
Get feedback from us. It's shit.
So I'll be out there. But yeah, it's good, right? So we've got 200 quite high-powered companies, and
yeah. We've seen you do obviously public speaking before, and you've nailed it before. So you could just do it without the auto cue.
Yeah. That is an option. Like they're going to put it on it, but I'm going to take paper up as well, and I might just free run it. But I've practiced it. Literally, you can type in like auto cue practice, and you can have an auto cue going down your laptop. So I've practiced it a couple of times on that, and provided I get the pace exactly right. Although I find it's a little bit like your shower. Like it's like too cold, perfect, too hot, too boiling. So it's like you just need to get the pace perfect, and then I'm in. So we'll see. Fuck it. Like I'm going up there with no stress. I don't care. So like whatever happens. I'm insulting them throughout it. So I'm just hoping they take it in good humor. And
I think this is the thing which I'm most excited about this week. like I think we need to come up with a bit of a point system. So your 1 point is someone comes up to you for a conversation about Bitcoin afterwards.
Okay.
2 points is someone links into you, because that's the easy one. 5 points is someone messages you. And then 10 points would be they send some kind of proof or confirm that they bought Bitcoin afterwards. I think keep it fairly simple, but I think, that'd be a good score. So what's your target?
Okay. And it's a 1 month time bound as well. So
1 month.
Or by the end of the calendar year. So they need to act before the end of the calendar year.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those points I get on the night, right? So it's just like, all you got to do is come up to me.
But the single points are almost a bit of cheat. So actually, let's go 1 point for the conversations, and then let's go 5 points for a LinkedIn connection, 10 points for a LinkedIn message about Bitcoin, and we'll go for 25 points for proof they bought Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's a big one.
With a 10-point entry. So you can get the conversations or the LinkedIn, but it doesn't begin until you get to 10 points and above. There's an entry. So
I think this, it's about 25. So we want to know how many points you can get, but also how many people can you get to buy Bitcoin? Like, that's a big one.
Yeah.
If you can convert, considering these people are probably CEOs, CFOs, chairmen, things like that, you kind of, if you can get 3 out of 200.
Oh yeah, that'd be massive.
I think that's massive. Even 2. Let's go for 2. That's success.
And that's that I know points as well, obviously. Like, most people might go away and do it and not even tell me. So
true.
True.
But I feel like
in my head, I'm between 50 and 100 points. Like the pussy in me wants to say 50, but then the bullish guy in me wants to say 100. So I'll say 100 points. I'm going for 100 points.
And, the big one, because it's our former CEO is going to be there, isn't he?
Yeah.
If you can get him, I'd be most impressed.
Yeah, he's nearly over now, but yeah.
Because he is, he's a very shrewd man. So, and obviously having that connection to him for knowing him for so many years, that would be a big one for us.
Yeah, I can't believe I still haven't converted him to a Bitcoiner, but
get him on bullish Bitcoin for a week.
It's weird, actually. I was even talking about like he'd be a great guest to bring on. That'd be like one hell of a throwback.
What the fuck are you guys talking about? Chad Saylor? Who's Chad Saylor?
Where's El Salvador?
I'm surprised his boys haven't really converted him yet as well.
Are his boys into it?
Well, they're young. That's what I'm thinking more so.
It might be crypto shitcoin. And also, I guess that they probably in the route of investment companies, so they're probably anti-crypto.
It's weird though. Like, you might get it as you get a little bit older, because my kids are a bit older. They tell you about stuff and I'm like, okay, I'll actually obviously listening and look into it.
You don't just say, listen, I'm just not interested. It's not Bitcoin. So stop telling me about this inane shit.
I do tell them that a lot of the time, but yeah, when I do pay attention, it is pretty cool just to ensure that I'm down with the kids.
Yeah, well, it's important because otherwise we do turn into boomers, right? It's the reason why we go. It's why we say okay boomer. It's because they just completely ignored our generation, which is why we've got a load of gold bugs now still holding on to their shiny rocks. And they're going, now Bitcoin, this is this newfangled made up internet money. And they haven't taken that step to go.
That's my exact point. Yeah.
It's that interesting story which Sir Neverlook posted in the notes around this about how he converted to Bitcoin. I thought it had some really interesting points, which I haven't researched, but I kind of thought actually, because they're on about how the gold market's been manipulated by governments. And I was like, is it?
Yep, massively. They own all of it, so of course they can manipulate it.
Do you want to go into a story and have a look?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the point of the story initially, I'm just going to load it up on my phone because iCloud's not coming up on here, but ultimately I'm starting to see more and more gold bugs starting to finally take note of us, Gen Z and millennials, about cryptocurrency, in particular Bitcoin. And one of the words that he says in particular was about, we need to learn and we need to research. And he also referenced our Bible, the Bitcoin standard within his speech as well.
Praise be.
So, praise be, absolutely. So for me, this is where they've actually taken a lot of humility to say, yes, gold is great and all of that, fantastic, but there's something else that's out there that I believe is better. And he wants to try and get them to at least convert a couple of their percentages over to Bitcoin, which obviously we're massively proud of. And I think that they should be doing more of as well. And once they do that and they see the number go up because the number of gold has gone down, then I think that they will start to prick their ears up even more so. And that's the way that I feel like Bitcoin will continue to be, as Pomp says, the apex predator.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because I've never heard of this guy, Lawrence Leopard, and he starts his speech, doesn't he? Going, "I'm the biggest gold bug there is."
Yes.
So he's just like, "I am Mr. Gold," right? But then he goes, "But Bitcoin, like he literally says the reasons why we all got so attracted to gold was it was the soundest money that existed, and value will always find the soundest money." And he's gone, something doesn't need to have intrinsic value. It doesn't need to be tangible. So Bitcoin is none of those things, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have value. It is a sounder version of money than gold. And that is why value is being attracted to it. If you have sound money properties and it's legit and it's been stress tested, value will find it. And he's going, that is why Bitcoin is booming. And that is why gold is stagnant over the last 10 years since Bitcoin has been around, because value is going to the soundest money. It used to be gold and now it is Bitcoin. So it's stunted the growth of gold and it's coming to Bitcoin. And fair play to this guy. He was obviously a massive gold bug for like 50 years. And he's gone, the last 10, I've been wrong. And he's gone the last 1 or 2 or something. I don't know when he became a Bitcoiner, but he's gone, I was wrong. And now I've still got my gold allocation. I still think it is sounder money than fiat, which I completely agree with him. It is absolutely sounder money than fiat. But Bitcoin is actually a sounder money and a more useful money than gold. So I'm starting to move my gold allocation into Bitcoin. And yeah, it's a great speech. He could have been a Bitcoiner for 10 years, the way he speaks. He literally articulates. And this is the thing, right? The reason why I think he could have been a Bitcoiner for 10 years is because gold bugs fucking get what sound money is. They get it. And so all he does is he repeats the points that he's been saying for 10 years and just adds Bitcoin on the end. You're like,
we've seen this on Twitter with what's his name, Peter Schiff, who goes on about some really, really good points towards the whole fiat economics. He's absolute on the point, but then his solution's gold. So you're exactly right there, saying that ultimately gold bugs they have the same kind of mindset as us. They understand money to that point. It's just that they've got another solution, but they got it stuck in their heads. And you mentioned as well, the history of money shows that the soundest money wins. But the problem which we've had in the past is governments have worked out how to manipulate that. And it's happened not just, once. It's not just happened in, 1918? It's happened in Roman times. It's happened in China times. It's destroyed dynasties because they got greedy and they've ultimately started printing money. So, this isn't just new. It's just happened numerous times because governments and the people in charge have got out of control. And I think one of the points which I really liked, which he said, was people talk about Bitcoin being code and so on, but money is just a ledger. So it's a transference of, I think, did he talk about buffalo or something like that in his example? It was some kind of animal. But basically, I've given this person one buffalo, give me one buffalo back. they've given me one buffalo. I haven't given them anything. Therefore, I owe them one buffalo. And that is, exactly on the money. It is a ledger. So it's keeping tally. So it goes back to your seashells, your beads and your rye stones, but it is just a ledger. And that's what people need to remember, because they get worried when they hear the code. Oh, what happens if the internet goes down? What happens if you boil the oceans and we all boil like a bunch of frogs, whatever? But it's a ledger, and it's the soundest one because governments cannot fuck with it.
Yeah, no, it's weird because I was reading the other day that one of the very earliest hieroglyphics was on literally on the cave walls. It's a ledger. It's basically, it's like the whole buffalo thing. Like, they're drawing pictures of animals and various things, and they're drawing like ones next to them. And like they're basically going, I own these 5, you own that 4 of this. And they're literally, it's a ledger. They are calculating what you own. And as things change over time, they are taking numbers off and moving them to different parts of the ledger. And all Bitcoin has done is decentralize that, put it in as a network, and gone, who owns what Bitcoin? That's all it is. And no one can log in and just start editing that ledger. That's the problem, right? Because if we had this on our cave walls, and that's still how we're working, when you're asleep, I could sneak in and go, you don't own 4 buffaloes, you only own 2, scrub your one off and put 2 on mine, and then run out. And then
all tax.
And then and then just claim that, and then just move your 2 buffalo into my pen and go, no, that's legit. Like, look at the ledger, because I changed it. It's very easy to edit it. You can't edit the Bitcoin ledger like that. That's why. And literally, that's it. That's literally it. That's why the only thing that gives Bitcoin value is the fact that it's scarce and you can't change it.
But one of the benefits with buffaloes, you can't just make some magically appear.
Well, unless you get them to do the jiggy.
We just can't go, oh, here's 2 more one day. No, you just drawn them on the floor.
But we've got to remember as well that Saifedean was a gold bug himself as well. So he started off like this. Lynn Alden, again, Robert Kiyosaki was there, Max Kaiser was there. All of these guys were gold bugs, heavily into it, and then have moved over to the new sound money, which is Bitcoin. I think this will be more and more people as gold continues not to perform, but also as well, they just realize that the principles that we're talking about are one and the same. They don't believe in the US dollar. They obviously are highly against the inflation that it just continues to happen as well. And so I think it's just going to become the norm for them, for those that actually take the time to look into it.
You also mentioned about adoption. I think that's towards the end. He says that 10% tipping point through things like the internet. Yeah. So I can't remember if he said what Bitcoin was at. So, I mean, what percentage of the world population has adopted Bitcoin?
You think about 200 to 300 million people own Bitcoin right now. So that's not
out of 4 billion.
Well, 8 billion.
8.8 billion.
Oh, is it 8.8? So we're looking at 5%, and he said 10% is about your tipping point. So potentially when things do start to go crazy and speed up, and we are in that process, because say if we're 5%, we're halfway there. We're starting to hit inflation, which goes into different stories, but we're seeing countries speed up, and I think some are getting completely out of control.
This is the fastest adopted technology in the world ever, as well, faster than the internet. And
really?
Yeah.
What year was the internet started?
It's in the 80s. So weirdly, right, so we've got a story on this, right? So we've got, are we in the final cycle leading to hyper-Bitcoinization from Bitcoin Magazine? And this actually has a whole load of charts that maps exactly what we're talking about here against other trends. So
it's one which I missed because I think it went late into the notes.
Yeah, I haven't seen this either. I clicked on my phone this afternoon.
And I must admit, it's an article just to bookmark, because it's not going to be one you can quickly speed read now, unfortunately. Like, it's a proper in-depth, probably like half an hour article.
Yeah.
It's got everything, right? And the way it's actually plotted it out is at the moment we are completely in line with internet adoption, based on the fact that we're 13 years in. If we start the internet about in 1990, so we're essentially like in 2003. And so it's still early. Like the internet had just started to boom at that point, worth about $1 trillion. But pretty much most people weren't doing everything on the internet. Most of it happened after 2003, like until 2020. That's when it took.
It was around about 2000 people started really using it, and then it was commerce kicked on later, and you had things like gaming, which came about 2010. And then you had all the social media was about mid 2000s. So I think that was in one of the books.
Facebook was 2007, I want to say. Maybe?
I think that's when it really kicked in, is when you brought in the social media. So it was when people don't really want to buy things online, but they want to socialize online. And that was was it a Future or something, which one which Neville recommended to read, and it's one which I've just finished on Audible.
The Price of Tomorrow.
Yes, that's it.
It's a great book.
So he says it right towards the end.
Yeah. Facebook was invented in 2004, but obviously didn't really take off until later on. But you got to think about all of the applications that then went on and into the internet, and obviously things like iPhone then really speeded things up. But things like internet banking, that wasn't there at the very beginning of the internet inception. And then people are now really adopting internet banking because of COVID. Yes, people were using it before, but with branches closing down because people aren't able to go onto it, it's really accelerated.
Remembers Silk Road and getting a Klarna for a pizza.
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
Back to the story. So what are some kind of like highlights which you pick out of this article?
Well, essentially the biggest thing about this article really is, number one, it plots all the trends. So I just found the actual chart that plots it against Bitcoin adoption, against internet adoption, and it's tracking almost 1 for 1. Wow. So this is obviously, that's a super positive sign, because the internet ultimately at the moment, it plots this for 24 years in, and it's at 4 billion. So it's basically got half the population of the world in, which essentially, as far as internet adoption can be, is at 100%, because there's only half the population of the world have access to the internet. And this essentially means every single person that wants the internet is using it. And so it means it's 100% adoption. There's half the population that are too poor to even have a phone to access the internet. So that's a different set of challenges. But with Bitcoin, we're tracking internet adoption, which just basically means this graph, it's like on a logarithmic scale. So it doesn't like look like it goes up exponentially, but it is. It's just, we are tracking the internet. So whether you're happy or sad about how fast Bitcoin's going, essentially, we're going through exactly the same learning and kind of adoption curve of the internet. Like it was what it was when it first came out, but it needed a shit ton of work to be made more usable. It needed to be made faster, needed to be ready for the masses. And at the moment, we're at the $1 trillion mark. We're at 300 million people. And that's where the internet was 13 years in. And if you just fast forward another 13 years, guess what? Everything's improved. And now everybody that wants it is now using it. So that's really...
Internet was too slow, unreliable, didn't know what services, what was useful.
Yeah, insecure,
so
get hacked.
You've got a number of factors which are similar there.
Yeah, and the one that always comes up, right, is the hacking, right? And the fact that, I'm never going to use Bitcoin because I can get hacked, right? That's the number one, or quite often, one of the big concerns about Bitcoin when you're taking custody of it. That was the number one concern about online banking. I'm never going to use the internet to go online banking. Someone's going to hack in and steal all my money. Now, we don't even think about that. Of course, you have a banking app on your phone and you use it. If we fast forward another 13 years, that's what you're going to be thinking about Bitcoin. Of course, my Bitcoin balance is on my phone. And what? And what? No one can get it. No one can get it. Just as you're confident in your banking app, no one can get it. It'll be the same as in Bitcoin. There's a million things that need to happen for us to get there, admittedly, and I don't know what they are, but we'll get there. It's just going to be going to take time. But the big thing about this, right, this article, right, this is the whole thing. Are we in a super cycle? So is this the final cycle of Bitcoin where we ultimately get to hyper Bitcoinization? So this essentially means we never have another 80% drawdown ever. We have little 20 to 40% pullbacks, but essentially this is the biggie. We're here. We've arrived. Companies.
It would be glorious.
It'd be fucking beautiful, because this is where Bitcoin goes to infinity. So that's the big question. I don't have an answer to that question. When I answered this, when I did ask this question or answer this question, I think on other earlier pods, I said no to this. I don't think this is the final cycle. I actually think we do have another 80% drawdown. I think we've got more work to do. But then as we've got closer, I'm starting to change my mind. I think El Salvador hadn't happened when I answered that question as well. So this article is suggesting we are in the final cycle, and it's up only from here.
Here's one which I think might be quite important, which has gone under the radar, is Jack Dorsey resigned as CEO of Twitter. And one of the things which he talked about, was it last year in El Salvador, was it a different conference, was around the usability and the kind of project which he wants to look into.
It was at the Bitcoin conference in Miami.
It frees him up. This is, one of the big things. If he can solve this, make something secure but more usable, then this is what potentially opens it to the masses.
Yeah. A lot of people have rumored, he quit yesterday, didn't he? And I think it's a big downside for Twitter, because I think censorship is going to go crazy now. I think he was holding a lot of the censorship back, and now it's just going to be fucking.
The guy who's now the head, the CEO, he seems like a little bit. What was it? I've seen a tweet which is him being racist, and then
I think I tweeted that probably.
Yeah, and then he is one for censorship, so he wants you to get back in your damn pod and tweet what you are told.
Yeah, and I think fundamentally, that's why Jack has left. I think he wants to. This is someone even tweeted I did love it. And he basically went, if Steve Jobs was still alive now, he would be leaving Apple to go join Bitcoin. And that is essentially what Jack is doing. He is going, I want to add more into the world now. And Twitter I'm just fighting against the machine, because all they want me to do is censor. And I'm fighting, holding back the crowd. But what I really need to do is go join the solution. I'm part of the problem at the moment. Go join the solution and help build the next generation of social media platforms, and let's make Bitcoin more usable. I think he wants to do a miner, a hardware wallet, a social network. That's one of the last things he said was, I want to do a Twitter that is based on completely decentralized, has no ownership, no shareholders, no government can basically enforce their censorship rules, let people say what they want to say. And so I'm really happy that Jack's left. It's going to be sad because Twitter's probably going to die. But if hopefully he builds something decent, and then we can all just move to that.
If he can get the decentralized, it just stops some of the ridiculous shit which you get on Twitter, like Trump being banned from the platform, but they allow the leader of, what was it, ISIS, to have an account.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, Trump's a terrorist. You got the head of the Taliban on the Twitter. Yeah. Oh, that's
someone
fine.
who loves beheading people versus someone who you just don't like his policies because he's a Republican.
Yeah, well, it's not really any of that. It's basically that he's against the elite. He's a free mind. He's like he's trying to genuinely drain the swamp. Doesn't matter what side he's on. It's like, no, he's actually telling the truth. And these other politicians just toe the line. And weirdly, which is super ironic, the Taliban now are part of the elite, because they're being almost grandfathered in, because it's fucking bollocks or whatever. But yeah, it's a positive story, right? So this is some good Bitcoiners here with a lot of good sound knowledge. If you read this article, it probably would take you half an hour to an hour to read it and digest it.
Okay.
But their summary is, there's a lot of evidence that suggests, based on online metrics, user adoption, that essentially we've come over the whole classic, the chasm of, can you cross the chasm from, this is fun, early kind of innovators, then you got the early adopters, you got to cross a chasm to get into the early majority. They're arguing we're in the early majority now. So now it's just, good to go. Let's go. The rest of the early majority come in, and the late majority come in, and we're at 4 billion users. We go from 200 million to 4 billion, which obviously it takes the price. I think in this article it says about $2.5 million a Bitcoin, up from 60K. So
okay,
I've
set
personally, I
that
think
to my phone.
Yeah, I think there's still time for us to go down once again. And the reason I say that is because I feel like there will be at least 1 or 2 more dips before the next halving. And then in 2024, after that, then I kind of feel like it is plain sailing all the way, happy days. Because as it says in the article, I've been quickly skim reading it, 2025, when we're at 1 billion users, then I feel like it will be just boom.
Yeah. So you think there's going to be, when you say dips, obviously dips happen all the time.
Dips correction.
80%.
I personally don't think
I can't
80%.
see 80%. I can't
That's
see
because
80%.
you've got people like MicroStrategy, Tesla, big organizations invested ETFs on the horizon. I just can't see it going down 80%.
That means you're both like super cycle fans then, because if you can't see that, that means it's the final cycle. It's from infinity.
Yeah, I can see 20-30%, but I can't see a huge dip.
Yeah.
Like there's no more cold winter 2018 style.
That'd be funny. We did 20% this week. Like we went down 20%.
We had what was it? We had 45 down to 20. So that's the biggest dip which I've seen since I've been in Bitcoin. 50 something percent, or is it 60%?
Yeah, it's about 60. Yeah. Well,
so
technically you did live through 2017 all the way down to 2019, didn't you? So
I wasn't paying attention. I was just like, I'll just sit it there just in case it goes boom.
Yeah. The only difference was you didn't have a material amount in. It was just a small amount you didn't care about.
Well, it wasn't just the material amount.
That was 87%, 87% drawdown. And my argument, I must admit, I think I'm still on that side. I still think we have an 80% drawdown possible.
But I feel like with MicroStrategy having such large holdings, but people like that have the sway.
But it's only got 0.5% of the entire Bitcoin allocation.
So you've got them. You've got the twins.
It's got 122,000 coins, Sailor, and some change.
I suppose, yeah.
My argument as well on the 87% drawdown is not from here, right? So I think there's going to be FOMO from here up to like 300 to 700. Then we can come back down 87%. So that'll be the potential. So what I'm saying is, I think everyone's going to get too excited at some point in the next year. I think whether it's companies or countries, people get a little bit too excited and think, oh, Bitcoin's going to like 4 million, 5 million a coin. So they're going to chase it up to £1 million a coin. And then it's going to come down fucking hard for £1 million a coin and go crash all the way to $130,000 a coin. And then we're going to be devastated. We're going to be devastated. So obviously it's still 3x from here. And but that still is 87% down from $1 million. So that's it's a good theory. What we're trying to like factor in here is, are humans, have they stopped being greedy? Because if humans have stopped being greedy, then we won't do this. But the fact is, once something starts going up, humans get greedy and they start buying, and they buy too much. And we've done it on a personal level. On like the last 4 cycles have been humans, just like individuals buying greedily. This cycle was supposed to be companies buying greedily, and then the next cycle we're going to do countries. We kind of like bundled them both into this one. So when I look at that, I'm like, it only takes another 2 or 3 El Salvadors to get a bit greedy, and they FOMO the price up to $1 million, and it's too quick, and we'll come crashing back down. But hey, I'll happily accept $1 million of Bitcoin. But I'd rather it go slower.
At that point, when you think we're FOMOing, do you sell?
Yeah, I know. It's I hate to say it, but I potentially would take a bit of profit if
this is recording.
It is recording, yeah. It's one of them. Like if we do like if we go from like 50k up to if we 20x from here, say in the next 6 months or something, that's FOMO. That's bubble territory. I would be taking profit. And I'm not a trader, but I would be taking profit from there. And I would be to a certain extent, it's like that's life-changing money. So I would be happily taking some profit at that point, buying some property, buying some land. And then if I was wrong and it went from 1 million up to 5, I'm like, fuck it, I'm good. But in my mind, I'd be going, this is going to go from 1 million back down to 200k or something. And I think I'm clever, but I wouldn't actually be buying it to optimize on sats, actually, just to put that out there. It would just be me going, this is a good time to transfer from sats to property and land. So I have no intention of putting it back in. I'm not trying to trade in and out.
It hits a million. What percentage of your stack do you sell?
That's revealing like my stack. It's
I was trying not to reveal it by asking percentage.
Yeah, it still does it.
Okay.
You just enough to like be comfortable for that's forever home, right?
I'm in that same bucket, by the way, in terms of if I was to ever sell my stack, it's not to play the game. It's just to simply buy property and land. Yeah. It's just changing from one asset to the other. And the only asset that I'm really changing from is from Bitcoin to property.
I just don't think I would buy land to live on. I'd just be like, bollocks it. I'd just buy property to create passive income if I was going to go down that route, because I'm just in that kind of mindset where I'm like, I'm fine where I'm living. I've got loads of rooms to live in. I can move around through rooms.
No, well, are you okay to live within that 4 walls for like the rest of your life? Like if you're locked in and can't leave?
Oh, if I can't leave,
don't you want some fields and some crops and some animals and some stuff
to play around Bitcoin beach?
This is the thing, right? So
El Salvador's nicest time of year.
It's that's what I'm thinking about, right? I'm assuming this is going to be a totalitarian world where when the economy collapses, they're going to be coming for everything, and lockdowns are going to be normal. Trying to get food is going to be difficult. Food stamps are going to become normal. You've only got to look at the failing currencies all around the globe, and that's what the default is, right? You've got police lying in the streets. So if you are going to live in a country that is potentially going to fall, and the UK and US are definitely in there, if you're going to buy property or land in there, do you have enough land where if you never have to leave that land, can you sustain yourself? If the answer is no, then you're not fully prepared against what's coming.
He's right.
Going me full blown.
Yeah, it's big. I know it's big, but it's just one of them, right? So let's just say, like, if Bitcoin went off to like $1 million a coin and all that, like, come on. Especially the only reason I'm saying it, right, and it would probably preempt me if it went to $1 million a coin in the next 6 months. I would for the first time probably feel that Bitcoin is overpriced. So that would be where it would prompt me to exchange Bitcoin into some assets, because I'm fully expecting a correction, and I don't want to just wait 5 years for the million coin to come back, because we're essentially going to go through another cycle. But if I'm wrong and this article is right, then I would have been wrong to have converted into assets at the $1 million a coin, because they're going to $15 million a coin, and I could have got a lot more for my money.
Do you think, by the way, the FOMO of why we crashed down to 80% is because the price gets to a price point which is everybody's moon that is already in it, or there's some other reason for people to, or for the price to crash?
It's a whole host of things, right? So I think, certain people's moons, and then it just like the price just cannot go up that fast, right? So when we went from $1,000 to $20,000 in 1 year, it's just too fast. And essentially what happens is, even though people want to get in and the FOMO is strong, eventually you get to a price where even the people that want to FOMO go, not now, too much. I'm out. Like all the way they're FOMOing. It's like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. It's like still in. in. And eventually, the higher you go, people start dropping out.
Yeah, and so we seem to be hitting a bit of a point around about 50 grand at the moment.
This is good. This is good, right? We're going up slow. This is not like direct lines. It's lots of corrections. It's like we go up 30%, come back down 20, go up slowly again. Like if anything, we're just consolidating in $50,000. It's beautiful.
We seem to hit what was it, about 45 K sterling, and then we kind of slid our way back and had a few really fast downturn, and when we went back up to the top, we kind of been hovering between like 40 and 45, and it seems like people have kind of picked this point somewhere between 45 grand and 50,000 sterling and gone, that's my sell point.
Yeah.
So it seems like we're struggling to get over that hump.
Well, this is literally the plan B model, right? So this is exactly what happened in 2017. So we went from 1,000 to about 6,000, and then we kept coming back down to 4 to 5, and we couldn't get between 4 and 5. And then this is why everyone was expecting a crazy November and December, because we were just floating between 4 and 5. We're just stuck, just like, this is the price of Bitcoin now. And for whatever reason, it captured everyone's imagination, and we went from 4 to 5 to 15 in like 3 weeks. And everyone was like, oh my God, Bitcoin's going to 100K. It's the dream, And essentially what had happened is, no, we went from 5K to 20K after being stuck there for ages. And then we came crashing that back down. So this is why I'm saying what I'm saying, basically, which is if we are now the same place, but 10K or like an extra zero on, so we're not stuck at 4 to 5K, we're stuck at 40 to 50K. What could happen is we fly up to 150 to 500K, and it's going to be too fast. And we're going to run out of buyers at 500K, and it's going to come crashing back down. And once it starts crashing, no one wants to catch that knife. Everyone's fucking moving out the way. They're like, I'll catch it when it stops. And so we keep falling because everyone's terrified now. And it's the opposite of FOMO. Now it's like fucking fight or flight.
Yeah.
So
get out of the way of that grenade.
So hopefully we just keep going up if we keep going up by 30%, correct by 20%, and then crawl back up, like this is beautiful. What we've done in 2021 is actually quite beautiful. So I would much prefer this article to be correct, and we don't do any crazy 5x returns in one month, and we keep doing 20% returns. Right, that's beautiful. We'll keep going.
We got 1 day to double to meet Plan B's stock to flow.
Today, correct? We have 2.5 hours to double. Today is the last day.
We should talk about this though, right? Because there has been so many people and businesses and institutions that have based their modeling on Plan B's model. So what happens if in 2.5 hours UK time, this is for any international listeners, if we don't meet this? Is the model officially broken, or does he have some leniency in which he can then catch up to the 98K he's predicted, which everyone's kind of hung their hat on?
Yeah, all it really means is that he missed a month. So he'll just move to the next month. How long
can he miss? Yeah, okay. We all probably sit here knowing, well, it will go to 98K. So do we just give him enough legitimacy to be like, well,
I think models, it's a guess. It's an educated guess. And I just feel that you can plan, you predict for the future, but you're never going to get it right. Exactly. He's done quite well so far. And he'll probably align with the model again in the future. It's just this one time it's come off the rails. And I just think it's a model, and it always happens.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with any model whenever a model gets super popular, then people will counter trade it. So, if anything, the fact that Plan B's model became so popular and the prices he put out was so exact. So he said like 98K in November, and he said like 100 and something in December, and then it's like, well, now like someone with a load of money can quite easily suppress the price of Bitcoin and keep it down just for lols. So you're wrong in November, and all that does is, yeah, fine. Someone was playing a game and suppressed the price of Bitcoin in November, but
how would they do that?
by having $100 billion worth of Bitcoin and just selling it all throughout November. Just every time the price comes up, dump another 10 billion. And just for lols, and to a certain extent, you can manipulate the market still. It's still a place where if you're super rich, you could manipulate the price. You need to be super rich. Like obviously on shit coins, you don't even need to be rich. If you've got like 100 grand of it, you can pump the price up and down like 50%. In Bitcoin, you need tens of billions, but you can still manipulate the price. And especially if there's a consortium of you. So imagine if there's like 10 billionaires all with, 50 billion worth of Bitcoin. That is 5% of the supply. If you all decided for lols, we're going to make Plan B's model fail in November, they can do that right now. If you fast forward 10 years, they can't now. There's too many people come in. The population's got too big. Bitcoin that's come out is just too decentralized, and it's kind of changed. But someone could just do it for lols. So yeah, and then Dave, we always talk about trading and predictions, price predictions. It's a bit like star signs for adults, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I mean, the model was built in March 2019, and so far it's done really well to have got 2.5 years into the model and it be right. So let's give him time, and don't forget, in March 2019 it did not factor in COVID or this hyperinflation of the amount of dollars that is being printed in the world. So it's pretty spot on. So maybe Plan B will give us a Plan C stock to flow model.
Yeah, but it's one of those, isn't it? Because the problem is with his model, like I have seen some of his excuses, and I don't buy them really, because look, when you're plotting the price of Bitcoin, what you are plotting there is the fall of the fiat world. So the fiat world is falling. They're going to make up pandemics. They're going to make up financial crises. They're going to create wars, because they're trying to defend their fiat side, right? So if you're going to use that as, the model would have worked if they hadn't done World War III. It's like, well, come on, like the price of Bitcoin almost dictates that the fall of fiat is happening alongside this. So of course these things are happening. Like they're not just going to let it happen. So when you go, the model didn't work because of COVID, you're like, no, come on. The model has to work because it's assuming the fall of fiat. So of course they're playing these tricks. And pretty much like literally when we had this pod like last week and we're talking about October's number, it was spot on. I think he predicted 63 and the price of Bitcoin hit 64. So he's spot on. But then this month he wanted a 50% gain, and we didn't get the 50% gain. We pretty much stayed at the same price or slightly below. So his model's broken, but I must admit, the quicker all these bollocks models get broken, I'm happier. Like the Bitcoin is going to infinity. It's just we don't know when. So the quicker everyone realizes no one knows, the better.
I think it's because as well, it goes back to the classic human traits and human behavior of we like predictability, we like patterns, and the fact that Bitcoin has never really followed a pattern. And, with all due respect, whilst we know a lot about it, we still don't know why there's these peaks and troughs. We can have pretty, some nice guesses, but you can look at the on-chain analysis. But I listen to Will Clemente and others as well. They still don't know.
No one knows. Unless you go around and ask every single buyer and seller of Bitcoin, why did you do what you do? You don't know. And no one can physically do that. So when someone dumps $1 billion of Bitcoin on the market or buys $1 billion, go ask them why, and then you start to get the answers. But no one's doing that. Everyone's just interpreting.
Yeah.
And then obviously Plan B are predicting like 20 years in advance. But
this whole point of models, they will be wrong. They're just to put a rough prediction on.
Yeah.
So you can't follow them exact. What do we want to move on from here?
I'm going to on El Salvador. I haven't talked about it yet, and I wanted El Salvador up at the top, and we've left it too late. Because the thing is, we're talking about price, right? We're talking about price. El Salvador brought the dip. They just randomly just went 100 extra coins acquired at a discount. Nayib Bukele he's such a Bitcoiner now. Like his profile picture is now like a proper Bitcoiner picture. He's got his cap backwards. He's got his flag in the background. All his tweets are like layered with Bitcoin memes.
I mean, it's only a couple of months, and it's almost, I know it's wasting your life, but I can't wait to see what's happened after 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, like 2 months, he's basically solving the money transfer problem of all his residents being fucked over by money transfers from the US or to the US. So that's a massive one. And I think it's not talked about, but then it's going into the other factors such as inflation, cutting that out in El Salvador. And I'd love to see what the country looks like in 2 years' time, because I think we will start to see some effects.
Yeah. I mean, they've been on this Bitcoin standard mixed with the US dollar, of course, since September. Boo. But the fact that, they've done a lot. And let's not forget as well, countries typically move so slow, don't they? When they make decisions, they don't move this quick. But they've gone from obviously not holding any Bitcoin to holding Bitcoin to then going over to it being a national currency. And now, of course, have bought more Bitcoin, announced the Bitcoin City that they're trying to plan as well, that we covered over on last week's pod. They're moving at the speed of light.
Yeah, and I love Nayib is also becoming a Bitcoin maxi troll overnight as well. So the Bank of England came out and went, they have concerns over El Salvador's Bitcoin allocation. So he straight away replied to that going, we have concerns about the Bank of England printing money out of thin air. I'm like, Bukele, stop it. Like, I hate like loving politicians and like kind of worshiping them, but stop it. You're becoming a toxic maxi. This is the kind of comments that I leave under the Bank of England's Twitter account. This is the president of El Salvador, and he's
6.5 million
like,
people.
yes, boy.
I think some of the points which the Bank of England guy made was IMF aren't happy. Who cares? Who the fuck are the IMF? It's a private organization owned by the US government, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who cares? And then it says crypto has to be stable, which Bitcoin is too volatile. It's like, well, this is because it's in discovery. When it becomes a Bitcoin standard, it is therefore stable, and one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin.
And by volatile, I mean it goes up too fast. Sorry, we're not as stable as fiat, which goes down consistently by 10 to 20% a year. Bitcoin goes up by 200% a year. Sorry for being more volatile.
The volatility in fiat this year. So usually we see, around about 5% from what we know, whereas this year we've seen about 15% in the UK. So that's pretty volatile.
Yeah.
This is, if only people knew, hey.
We start calling him Chad Bukele. We got Chad Saylor.
Yeah, should move on to Chad Saylor because he also did a little DCA this week. So,
a little DCA.
His like classic little DCA, like his little monthly buy. 7,002 Bitcoins for 414 million in cash, an average price of $59,000 a Bitcoin. And so as of yesterday, he holds now 121,000 Bitcoin in MicroStrategy.
I wonder at the same point.
I think it's 29. I think it was his average price. His average
overall
price,
$29,000.
Oh, sorry, yeah, overall average price of 29. Yeah.
Yes,
but this last 7,000 was average of 59.
Yes. When he buys with MicroStrategy, do you think he also buys personally?
Probably, I don't know.
Because he does things to generate funds for MicroStrategy, so like issuing new shares, and I think selling some assets. So I think he talked that through when he was speaking to was it Saifedean Whereas, so this one, it would say that he's done something else, because I think he took an interest-free loan for one of his purchases of Bitcoin. So I'd be interested to know, well, maybe it's in the article and this one, that how he raised that capital.
Yeah, I think it's profit, because the thing is, the good thing about MicroStrategy is it's very profitable. But yeah, he probably did sell some shares as well in because MicroStrategy's share price has gone insane. But yes. Yeah, I'm just scrolling back on the charts. Like, yeah, he's got 17,000 of Bitcoin on his own personal wealth. But who knows? This is a MicroStrategy update, not a MicroSaylor update on the Bitcoin side.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is the fact that they can easily sustain this because the company is going up. So the money that they're borrowing can easily be paid back, and the fact that there is there's more money on that side, but then there's more money on the Bitcoin side being made. So it's just a great trade. And it's also something that a lot of boomers go against as well in terms of leverage and using debt as leverage. But MicroStrategy are obviously debunking that and doing it this way.
Yeah, GigaChad does it again. This is one of his bigger buys as well, because I think he did $1 billion at the beginning, and then I think he did 200 million. Then he downed it to about 25 million, and he's been buying about 25 million every couple of months in 2020 and then 2021. And he just appeared at 59,000 average buy, 400 million. 400 million buy, and bizarrely at his highest price point. So it's weird. Like, if you just want to gauge market sentiment, like when Bitcoin was at half the price, GigaChad was less confident. He was buying 25 million at like 30k. Now we're pretty much at 60k. He's buying 400 million. So he's getting confident and still doubling down. And so yeah, he's not selling. He's still buying. He's still stacking.
Ultimately, this is a CEO of a business, so very clever, very analytical person, and he's plowing money into Bitcoin, which says it all to you.
This is what I also think as well. And it's not to, we always talk about this and we say it in the show notes, don't trust, verify. Okay, so everything that we're reading out and we're talking to you about, for all the listeners out there, every article is referenced. Is it just a case that you just blindly follow Saylor? Because Saylor will have done a lot of the work. MicroStrategy will have done a lot of the work. These are the best minds that are out there, and not just the best minds from a what we'd call an academic perspective. This is real world best minds, as well. Because academically, there could be some fantastic people, and we'll go on to that because I think we were talking about in the group, that guy that tries to kill Bitcoin. Academically, I'm sure he's great, but he's a socialist that doesn't get Bitcoin.
Well, it's a translation from academics to actually real life, because we touched upon it with the Plan B models. Nothing translates. There's lots of things which you cannot account for, and lots of analysis which I suppose people put down to instinct, but it's taking in the surroundings. So yeah, I think it's going to be a mix of the people who work for Chad Saylor to make these decisions. And I think if you've got no clue, you have got to look at people like that and wonder what they're investing in, or if you can get the inside track on Nancy Pelosi's investments and follow them.
Yeah.
I'd always say, like, never trust like a single MicroSaylor, like, just because he knows what he's doing. He could be wrong on this, but you've got Saifedean. You've then got sorry, Chad, but like, it's just, you just got to go, like, how many people have joined the Bitcoin cause now, right? They were all on the podcast,
and it's getting higher profile as well.
Yeah, you got Lynn Alden, you got Preston Pish, you got Jeff Booth, you got Saifedean and Moose. Like, the list just keeps fucking growing, man. Like, if anything, it's easier to name the economics and investing heroes that aren't in Bitcoin than the ones that are. So it's one of those where you're like, look, as everybody knows, the greatest gains on an investment is getting into something before the masses know about it. So at the moment, you've probably got 30% of big investors are in Bitcoin, 70% aren't. You're still early, so get in. If you wait until 90% of people are qualifying that Bitcoin is the best investment, then that means 90% of the gains will be gone. But 90% of the risk will also be gone. So,
yeah, and also the other one is Elon. Whilst Elon tweets on about Doge, what is Tesla's money in?
Yep.
Is it in Doge or is it in Bitcoin? And that says it all.
And he even admits he's only got like 3 big investments: is Tesla shares, SpaceX shares, and Bitcoin. He said that out loud. That's his 2 babies. So in reality, put his 2 babies to one side. He has one investment, Elon does, and it's Bitcoin.
Yeah. And we don't need to say anything about Elon.
We'll give him a break this week. We'll be back next week.
I know, he's gone back into the hero category almost there, hasn't he?
Just by shutting up.
Yeah, just
all we have to do is
tweets
shut
about
the
how he
fuck up.
he tweets about how he tweets when he's taking a shit.
Oh man, did you see that tweet about he's dropping the kids off at the pool?
What was one he was saying? 95% of my tweets are when I'm on the porcelain something.
Yeah, there's a load of people trying to analyze his tweet that's dropping the kids off at the pool, and everyone's like, "What does this mean?" It's like, he means he's having a shit. This is literally a shit post, and then everyone's just like a dozen articles got written about Elon having taken his shit. I'm like, Elon's supposed to be fucking creasing. I wish I had that kind of following. I would have so much fun with it, just like Elon's doing. Honestly, tweeting,
just playing with them. Yeah. I know you don't really follow boxing, and I'll just keep it real quick on this, but it just reminded me of Amir Khan in Kell Brook's press conference, where he said the coach told him, what jab should I hit him with, or what hook should I hit him with? And he just says, I just kept you on the end of it. It's like one hand on you, back to Kell Brook when they were sparring back in the day. So I feel like that is Elon just playing with the world, just picking which choice of shot that he wants to hit us with, and he's just having a laugh.
Nice. Having a play, isn't he?
Yeah.
I bet he tweeted it from the shitter as well.
Talking about adoption, do you want to move on to the JP Sears story which you put in?
Yeah. So that's a pretty big one. I love JP Sears, right? So JP Sears, I don't know if you recognize the name, but he's the ginger guy with long hair, and he's against all the woke stuff. Like, he takes the piss out of everything, and bizarrely, he's even taking the piss out of Bitcoin. So he's the super funny guy. I want to make him the main picture of our podcast this week.
Awaken with JP is his YouTube show. I think it's every week or two. He has an episode about something maybe topical, maybe just taking a piss. So it's, things like why vegans are better than everyone. And it's all kind of like woke stuff is what he concentrates on, but it's gone very heavily towards kind of like anti-lockdown and anti-total, I can't even say the bloody word.
Totalitarian.
Yeah. So he seems to be concentrating on that quite a lot lately, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's a Bitcoiner now, and this is a great podcast. I don't know, did either of you listen to it? It's an hour long, so it's quite long.
No, it's not one which I actually listened to.
Yeah, it's great, right? So I would really, really advise it, because literally when I was listening to him, he sounded like you two, right? So he was like, I've heard about Bitcoin for ages. I've kind of taken the piss out of it. I even went, because I don't understand it, it must be just bullshit. And I'm really almost embarrassed that this year, the way the governments were acting and the way they were printing money and the way all the our freedoms have been taken away, it forced me down to start listening to some Bitcoiners. And he listened to a Chad Saylor podcast where he went, do you know how we stop this? Bitcoin, and this is why. And it all just clicked in his head. And now he's all in on Bitcoin. He's like, I'm embarrassed that I didn't get it. I've been harassed by Bitcoiners for years. And because he clearly got it, right? This is like, he wasn't a gold bug, but he was a guy that got the system was broken. He was taking the piss out of the financial system and the political system for years. And I love this guy. And we're like, yeah. But instead of just taking the piss out of it, guess what? There's an option to opt out and buy Bitcoin, and we change the system and rewrite it in our own rules. And it's all fair and all the incentives are aligned. It's not going to be much fairer society and this corrupt crony capitalism. And he's gone, I get it now. And he's all in on Bitcoin. He's super busy with his comedy tours and he's putting out shit tons of content, but he's gone, I've had to put a load of this to one side because part of what I want to do is build a social network, and it's powered by Lightning. It's called Zion, and I've signed up for Zion. You can sign up yourself if you go to, I think, getzion.com. It's a Twitter/Facebook kind of clone, but you have to pay for it. So this is what we're looking for, right? So if you pay for your social network, it's about the same price of a Netflix subscription. And once you're in per month, yeah, it's like £10 a month, I think. I don't know what it is on the inside yet, but it's all powered by Lightning. If you do successful tweets and successful posts, then you get paid. But you pay them for the platform. But it's all decentralized, so no one can censor you. You pay to have access to it, to a node in the middle. But provided you pay your money into the node, it just accepts it regardless of who you are. You get to speak now. And yeah, it's his experiment. And he's teamed up with a Bitcoiner who's, I think, done most of the work and kind of joined with him for some of the promotion. And who knows? Let's see where it goes. It might fail. It might be crap. Who knows?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we talked about, the kind of microtransactions and what world it brings you to with Blue Wallet. And this is obviously a bit more expensive, but it gets rid of, people posting their fucking kids on your timeline on Facebook, which you just don't care about, and telling everyone, I've had the worst day possible with the comment below, you okay, hub? Don't worry, I'll inbox you. It gets rid of that, doesn't it? It gets rid of a name and people actually use it for some kind of purpose.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, just imagine, like, if I compare how much I use Twitter to how much I use like Netflix, I use Twitter more, and I pay £10 a month for Netflix. Like, I absolutely should pay £10 a month for Twitter. I'm more than happy to pay for it. And if I don't get censored and I can say what I want, then I'm definitely paying for this. So it's like,
especially if Twitter changes with the new CEO coming in.
Exactly, yeah. And then JP even says it, right? And we all know it. Like, if you don't pay for a service, then you are the payment. Like, they are selling you. So you are the product. So I would rather just go, you know what? Where's the business model in JPC as a social network? Oh, he collects £10 a month for every user. All right, well, great. Let's go. That's good. In I go. Can I say whatever the fuck I want, no matter how offensive and da-da-da? And if people want to read it, great. If people don't want to read it, they can block me and go on their way. That's the world I want. That is free speech. That's First Amendment. Listen to the people you want to listen to, create your own little echo chamber and crack on. What I don't want is someone sat in an office somewhere going, this is allowed, this isn't, and mass blocking people. That's not what I want.
Like, your view isn't allowed because it's Republican. We only allow Democrat views, which is how ridiculous things have got on Twitter. So I do agree. And it's one which I'll be watching, man, because like we said, the fear is that Twitter goes down the pan. But I suppose the advantage at the moment is you can just block all the people spouting absolute drivel.
By the way, go on, Dana. Go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, is it just like tweets that you are able to say, or is things like, could we put the podcast on there?
Yeah, I don't know at the moment because I know I have access to it, but I think it is, both. You could link the podcast to it. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
I think it's by and large a Twitter clone, I think. But based on Lightning as well, which is cool, right? We haven't got many Lightning products. Like, a lot of the Lightning products have now been, other than payments are pretty like robust, but products built on top of it, like shops and games, they've all been pretty lightweight. This looks like quite a serious, like they're building a social network based on Lightning. And bizarrely, like, what you get for your $10 a month, by the way, as well, is they fire up your own Lightning node.
Nice.
So you have your own node underneath, and they just go, look, it's just floating somewhere. I'm not totally sure, but they say like no one can censor that node. So provided you can access that node and send a message, that goes out into the social network. So of course, there's going to be concerns like if they're firing at the node, then if someone wants to shut down Zion, then they could go and prosecute JP Sears and his Bitcoin mate and go, we're going to put you in prison for the rest of your life unless you shut this down. And if they concede, then I would guess wherever all our Lightning nodes are get switched off. So these are all the stress tests we need to go through. We don't know, but it's great, right? This is part of the innovation. They're having a go. So let's see what
it may fail, but hopefully, if it does fail, hopefully it leads to something which will be truly decentralized.
Yeah. And I got a question for both of you. Do you know where the name Zion came from? Do you recognize that name?
Well, it's got numerous uses. You could go back to recent media and it would be Zion and the Matrix, which is kind of like their home.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. It's the place outside the Matrix where all the real people live. So this is literally, that's the analogy, right? Everyone in Twitter and Facebook is in the Matrix. So let's move to Zion. It's I'm gutted I didn't come up with that name and build something myself with it. It's great, right?
When you sign up, you have to update us. So I'm guessing it probably won't have a lot of users initially, but then.
No, I mean, I'm on the waiting list at the moment. There's 17,000 people waiting on the waiting list, and I'm 17,000 and something. So he's got too many people signed up at the moment.
Do you think more people will come off Twitter, by the way, with Jack Dorsey's resignation?
No.
Do you think he holds that weight, or do you think people just love it anyway, and so they'll just continue to do it?
I think it's
they start the new CEO to fuck it up.
So they start clamping down on more things.
It'll be when we get banned. That's when we'll leave. Like literally, once they start. The thing that I'm waiting for, I think this new CEO, if I had to predict it, I think I will be banned from Twitter permanently within the next 6 months now, just for my anti-lockdown and anti-virus kind of messages that I put out. So I'm pretty sure they will pass a policy on Twitter that says that is some part of misinformation and whatever, and one strike and you're done. And just about every Bitcoiner is going to get hit by that. So once we're all banned and we have no voice, we'll just move to there. The problem is we'll just be talking to each other, right? One part of the joy of Bitcoin Twitter is we all get together, and it's kind of like how you guys joined as well. Like you kind of you join in from the side, and then like the snowball gets bigger. If we all just leave and go and start talking on Zion, like we're just talking to each other, so it'll be perfectly enjoyable, but we're not really spreading the word. We're just talking to each other.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the challenge we have. But if Twitter is going to have to fail, then we're going to have to just make Twitter just be, once it's a completely censored platform and you can't say anything that isn't, it's basically like feels like you're on a China social media, then even the noobs will go, this is crap. Like, because even a normal person that follows 99% of the government guideline, even they will say something that's out of line, and they'll get censored. And they're like, what the hell is this thing? And everyone will be like, if you're not use Zion. And that'll be when suddenly the masses
I'll apologize to all our Chinese listeners for his comments.
But
I apologize for the Chinese government. Like, fuck those guys.
But don't right-wing racists use Zion.
And terrorists and
Are you a racist? Is that why you want to go on there?
I literally say it all the time, but the rule of thumb for all technology should be if criminals and racists are using it. If they're on it, then great. It's going to work. It's going to succeed. History has it, you know.
Those sound like words of a racist.
Yeah. Xenophobic, racist, homophobic.
Yeah. I'm generally very interested in this. Like JP, Awaken with JP, it's funny. But some of the some videos which he's done over the last year, I've been like, oh God, this is so true. So true. And he gets away with it, but really interesting to see how this unfolds.
Where should we go next?
Where do we want to go next? We've got inflation, my favorite topic.
You know we love this topic. Turkish lira in chaos.
Yeah, I've actually called this one like Inflation Weekly, just so it focuses us down from, instead of having 10 inflation stories a week to having one, because there's so fucking many of them. But
I'm glad I like this. I feel like there is literally one a week every week. So regular listeners, don't worry, we'll give you your inflation fill. It'll just be a different location and jurisdiction. This week, inflation is brought to you by the letter T for Turkey.
Yeah, what was it? I think in here it's like 15% in one day.
Yeah.
Well, they said it's 20% overall for a year, I think. So I was like, does it mean, is this like fiat world where it actually means 40%? And I think 40% is too low.
It is, exactly, right? So there's lots of numbers in this, but it says 20% on inflation against its own currency, so lira. So that's the classic CPI, the one they can manipulate. But the one they can't manipulate is, well, what was the conversion from lira into dollars in a single day? And on one day, it dropped by 15%. So this is the number they can't really hide. And that was 15%.
If you look into the stats, this is where it gets even worse. So they're talking about, it's only X, it's 20% or whatever. 2017, $1, 3.5 lira. 2019, $1 to 5.6. So we're looking at, what's that, about 60% inflation across 2 years against the dollar, which we know is inflating. So we know that's 5%. So I can't work out how you calculate that. 2019 to 2021, 2 years. And in most 2 years, we know the dollar is inflated by a minimum of 20%. It's gone from 1 lira to 5.6 to $1 to 13.44. So it's doubled. So it's doubled in those 2 years, on top of the US inflating by at least 20% in those 2 years. So we're not talking on 20%. I've got 2 years, it's 240% against the dollar. That is hyperinflation. And then add in the 20% as well, which I can't work out how to factor. You've got, this is one of the next currencies to be destroyed.
Yeah. I think as well, it was in one of the pods, I think they even tried to ban cryptocurrency and Bitcoin.
They have.
They
banned buying it.
Yeah, so they're not even giving them a life raft to get off this, which is really, 85 million people in the country. And it's a big holiday destination for people in the UK. It's just not going to be enough.
Yeah, they're completely screwed, right? I think hyperinflation is defined by if you do 50% a month for 3 months. So they're not quite at that, but they're not far off, right? So this is just fast forward the UK and America, maybe a year or two. It's still devastating, like, because hyperinflation basically means your money just evaporates, like it's just fucking gone. This is still horrendous. Having 200% inflation over the course of a couple of years, it essentially means like if you had 100 grand, you've essentially now got the value of 25 grand at the end of 2 years. So that's life savings down from being like, yeah, that's your retirement money, down to, well, now you've got a couple of years of money. So if you adjust at retirement age when this happens, you went from being wealthy in retirement to poor through no fault of your own. You saved your entire life. This is devastating for people. And this is why, again, like Bitcoin is so passionate about inflation, so like raising the red flags about hyperinflation. This is coming to everybody. And the sooner you get into Bitcoin, the better, because do not trust these governments once it starts happening. Because the thing is, like the Turkish governor and the Turkish president here is still saying everything's fine, relax, just keep saving, keep working, we're going to save it. They always say this.
Erdogan's obsessed with not raising interest rates and printing money. That's literally what happens what seems to be happening across the world at the moment is they do not raise interest rates. So there's no way of saving money, but they're printing money and devaluing your savings. And it's absolutely insane.
Yeah. It's the classic thing, right? It's like being on the battlefield and you've lost like 80% of your men, and you go, the best thing to do right now is just to run off the pitch and try and save as many people as you can and then just regroup. The politicians never do that. They just go, keep going, we can win. The odds are against us, but keep going. And guess what happens? The final 20% fall as well. So the only way to survive, like back in the day, it would have been the only way to get out of this would have been to leave your country and then try and transfer whatever assets you could take with you into a different country's assets that are hopefully slightly more stable. Now, even if you're sat in Turkey, liquidate as much as you can and get it into Bitcoin, and you'll be able to ride this out. But do not hold your assets in Turkish lira. I'd imagine they're probably going to go on to a dollar or a euro standard. I would imagine the euro might not take them, but what they'll end up doing
is say that, they've been rejected.
Yeah, sure. The euro won't accept them because we've got some weird rules. But the dollar, they'll probably just go into a dollar standard, and they won't like kind of bring the dollar down. They'll just go, they're fine, use dollars as your national currency, but we're still going to charge you shit tons of interest, and they'll do what they did to El Salvador and just try and make them their bitches, right? And so Turkey will be on a dollar standard, or they go into complete fucking meltdown.
So we saw a picture of Erdogan. I can't remember, it's COP26 or some article which we did. The guy looked half dead. He looked like Prince Philip before he died.
He looks all right now.
Yeah, he looked horrendous on this picture. I remember seeing it and just thinking, fucking hell, he's not got long left.
Oh, actually, even this picture's from 2019, so it's actually 2 years old, this picture that's on this article. It's from like this week. But yeah, there's another currency falling, right? It's at the moment, I think there's probably two. It's Turkey and there's Hungary. Hungary are also collapsing at the same time. It? Yeah, Hungary are also going.
The thing about this article is it's saying 15 and 20%, but when you actually put the numbers together, it's not even close.
But by the way, that 15% is on one day.
Yeah, but they're claiming 20% in total.
Yeah, I know. It's
I've just gone 2 years, 240% minimum. We also haven't factored in the 20% inflation of the dollar because I didn't get around to figuring that out.
I know. What's the funny thing, right, about the mainstream media reporting on inflation, because they report that there's 15% inflation in one day, but then go, it's 20% for the year because CPI is legit, and they forget the fact that they're putting a truth in there with a lie, and the two don't marry. So what they really should be saying is, it's near 100% inflation per year, but they can't say that because then that exposes the American inflation is also way higher.
Yeah, it'd be lovely to actually know what this is if we ever get to find out what it has been over the last 30, 40 years per year.
Yeah. Well, it's weird, actually. I actually saw linked into this article, there was a guy from Turkey and he was working out an hourly wage, like what it buys, or I know how many hours a Turkish wage buys you certain items. And he was going through a supermarket and picking stuff up.
Wow.
And it was just devastating to see, because he was like picking up a pack of grapes, and he was like 2 hours. And then he was going down to found a TV, and he basically went 4 weeks. And then it was just like, it just kept on going and going. And it was just like, basically the price of just a weekly shop was like, you have to work something like 3 months to afford your weekly shop. And it was just, and he went, if you rewind 2 years, this was like a tenth of what it is now. And, this is the devastation that's happening on the Turkish people right now. It's playing out real time. We always think Zimbabwe and Brazil were too far away. And probably there's plenty of people that probably think Turkey's too far away. But it's coming to our shores. So
just posted in our chat group, and obviously you can listen to the show notes at the end of the chat. But ultimately, Turkey are number one in Europe in terms of inflation.
This is a live figure.
And this is a live figure, Turkey, Ukraine, next Belarus, Moldova, and then Russia. But Turkey are way out there in front, nearly double that of Ukraine in number 2.
Yeah.
And UK are claiming 4.2% on that one.
Bullshit. Yeah.
Then one which is actually showing hyperinflation is Venezuela, 1,500. And then if we find US, which is obviously the one which we know, where the hell is it? I think they said that it is slightly high at the moment.
Well, this is typically US countries. Are you looking on the world one, are you?
I'm looking on America, but it isn't showing up there.
Okay.
Because that's obviously one which you should be interested in because
That's
there
based
we
on
go.
Europe, that's why.
6.2% for America, for the US.
Oh yeah, they're 6.2. Yeah, we're 4.2. They're 6.2.
Yeah.
But we talked about that last week because if you use the 1980 calculation for inflation, it's 15.
Okay,
that's still a lie. That's still CPI. It's not really everything.
We've got inflation out of the way, so is it time to go back into the agenda now? We've got that out of our system, but we'll probably mention it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, do you want to talk? We're still like slightly in regulation, but we want to talk about the one we were just talking about before we came on, actually. But Bitcoin Daily, FCA to crack down on crypto sent to terrorist groups, which is bollocks. But the UK may lose millions in taxes on crypto due to El Salvador loophole. So this is an article I read the other day, and it's very, very interesting because the fact that El Salvador have made Bitcoin legal tender creates a UK loophole, which makes it a currency. And apparently, according to this article anyway, which is kind of news to me until I read this, that if you switch from currency to currency just as a normal day-to-day thing, not a trader, just a day-to-day thing, taxes are not payable on currency exchanges. Now, up until now, Bitcoin has not been listed as a currency. It's been an asset, which is subject to capital gains tax, which means you have to pay 20% tax. If the UK government, or HMRC at least in the UK, don't plug this loophole, then it is viable that any selling of Bitcoin you do in the UK is just a simple currency exchange, which means no tax is payable, which is pretty fucking sexy, boys.
Do you think it's a pretty easy thing to do, to switching from currency to currency and then crypto? And obviously a viable currency that is allowed as well.
Oh yeah, by the way, when they say crypto, like the article is wrong. Obviously the only currency or cryptocurrency that would be included is Bitcoin, because that's the only one that is legal tender. So if you're using Dink, Doink or Polkadot or fucking Cumrocket, then they're all still shitcoin assets. So that's still all tax will be payable on that. The only one this applies to is Bitcoin. But yeah, but at the moment, like obviously what the reason that law is really there is, when we go on holiday and you transfer, £1,000 into euros, there's no tax to be paid on that transfer, right? They don't go, oh, was this £1,000? Was that profit? Are you selling pounds that you got from an asset somewhere? You need to pay 20% gains on that as you go over into euros. And then when you go spend your euros and you come back with your £200 or 200 euros, did the price go up? Do you have to pay taxes on the gains you made in your euros when you transfer back to pounds? They just go, nah, this is just day-to-day stuff. It's just currency to currency. If you're a trader and you do this every day and you transfer $1 million into euros, then $1 million from euros into dollars and then to yen, and you're knocking it all around, you're a trader now. That's your job. Any gains you make are taxable. Fine. But we don't do that in Bitcoin. You buy something, you hold it for a load of time, and then what I potentially want to do is then convert some Bitcoin into some assets. At the moment, when I convert my Bitcoin into assets, I have to give the government a 20% tax, use the 80% of left into property and land. I would love it if I get to keep 100% converted into property and land. And at the moment, this is suggesting it might be possible.
One to watch.
But again, the thing that I love about this article, by the way, and it was one of the comments that I think it was a Reddit post actually that had this and that I linked to it, but I just linked to the article direct. Even though this article was super good, they've edited the title. Number one, this title was not started with terrorist groups in the title. Got nothing to fucking do with the article. But this article was super decent. It talks about like the legislation of Bitcoin, like the El Salvador stuff, but they can't help themselves by going, oh, by the way, Bitcoin also funds terrorist groups. Just so you know, bye. Like, fuck, what? No evidence. Just threw it in. Fuck off, mate.
It's like there's two articles submerged into one, and of course they want to end on the sour note of that, and it's just like it's so random that the way they throw it in.
Yeah, it's always too obvious, isn't it? Like
it's too obvious. Yeah.
Look at this really positive news about Bitcoin. By the way, it funds terrorism. Bye.
Yeah. Do you know, I even go so far as to say it's not real. And also, by the way, where he says, been doing this for years, but no one has been caught by virtue of Allah. I was just like, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're trying to instigate something there, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they found a nutter to give them that quote, haven't they?
Yeah, 1000%.
Well,
do you know one of the things that I think that we should look at as well is just reminded me about certain articles, and I think it'd be fairly easy. We should create another kind of like a sub notes section. So we'll do a roundup of the year, but then also a roundup of those key stories that we've mentioned throughout the various different pods, which we think, oh, we should go back to that. How has that actually played out as well?
Yeah.
So it'd be good to, obviously, if anybody wants to message in the comments to talk about certain things that we may have covered, then more than happy to go back over them at a later date.
Yeah. But yeah, so what's that article potentially was quite positive, like talking about lighter tactics. It still had some nice layers of FUD in there, but like our main FUD of the week this week is Hillary wins the title yet again, so she's back on SMBC
2 weeks in a row.
She's nailing it. She's doing the rounds, isn't she? Was it last week?
Yeah.
Bitcoin was threatening the dollar last week, but this week Bitcoin is now being manipulated by China and Russia. And I think she needs to get up to date with her Bitcoin news, because as of the last year, China banned Bitcoin completely and like kicked it completely out of their country. So how China are controlling Bitcoin is, mate, Hillary, that's 2017 FUD. In 2021, China kicked Bitcoin out. It's nearly all in America now, the mining. So come on, Hillary, keep it.
Someone sent Hillary the show notes.
I think it's just it's good PR though. It raises the fact that Bitcoin's about. Why is Hillary Clinton looking at it? Someone starts reading. This could be future Bitcoiners thanks to this FUD.
She's really looking old now though, isn't she? She's old
now. Well, I'm also wondering what she's doing giving interviews when there's a notable case going on, which might be related to someone who she knows.
I actually posted a picture of Hillary and called it the Omicron variant, and it went viral. So
nice.
I'm guessing that she looks a bit like a virus. But yeah, she weirdly actually, my brother even told me when I was speaking to him the other day that one of his mates actually heard that first Hillary clip that we talked about last week about Bitcoin threatening US dollar, and that converted him into going, is Bitcoin legit, and contacting him again. So You're right. Well, on the marketing side, it's doing exactly the opposite of what they want it to do. It's legitimizing, because this stuff, Bitcoin is colluding with China and Russia. That's just nonsense again, right? That's just misdirection and boiling ocean stuff. But last week, when she admitted Bitcoin's competing with the US dollar, that was the proper one. And that's the one that clicked in one of my brother's mates' heads and went, is it? You always said it was going to overtake the dollar. Now that it's saying it is, do I need to buy some before it does? It's like, yes, thank you, Hillary. You're fucking passing on the message.
Yeah. The opposite of what you wanted.
Should we go into shitcoin corner? That's always a good laugh.
Yeah.
It's our favorite brothers. They make all the best things.
The Bitcoin bros.
Better than the Island Boys.
Island boys.
I think the Paul brothers, they're just,
The Island.
they got a good track record, the Paul brothers.
Island Boys.
Have you seen the memes with is it Bill Clinton and Bill Gates as the Island Boys?
Oh no.
It's about
the Epstein Island boys.
yeah, exactly, that's what it's about. And it's just got them like with their meth haircuts and so on. It's just got their faces superimposed on them.
Oh, two like 13-year-old girls in their laps.
Oh gosh. Terrible.
Yeah. But yeah, the Paul brothers are at it again, aren't they? Like they've done Dink Doink. They've done that NFT merging of animals bollocks. And now
Best NFTs ever.
they have completely peaked at a new set of NFTs called Stick Dicks. So we've got one of our favorite like shitcoin kind of exposees, like CoffeeZilla. Great video linked. I recommend everyone just go watch it. But what the fuck? Like this is literally stick figures, and they have dicks, and they like spray around in different types of ways. That's what you're buying now. That is what they're selling, and they've already, I think, sold $1.5 million worth of these stick dicks.
I'm trying to find a picture of them. There's nothing that he really shows.
Yeah, he does.
Video.
Yeah, they're in there.
Oh,
I
okay.
watched a video for this because it was that I can't remember the name of the person who does it. CoffeeZilla, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
CoffeeZilla. Yeah.
And it's a great video, and I was looking for it, but I was just going, this isn't as ridiculous as Dink Doink. I'm just a bit disappointed.
Oh, no, it is. Dink Donk was like a paperclip, and I don't know, like just a stupid name. This is pictures of stick figures with dicks. Like this has to be
I suppose
peak. Like try and think of something more stupid than this.
Dink Donk.
I will send you like this might actually be the picture of the pod. And I need to send this. I've got a little picture of a stick figure here.
Well, the tagline is
and a dick.
Is stick dicks how many inches you got?
Yeah.
It's Jake Paul's claiming that he is an ambassador, isn't he? But when they actually looked into who funded it, so I can't remember how it was done, but they found out that he pretty much is a majority backer, and they found out that he has a share of 55% of the revenue, I'm guessing the rest of the developers. And I just went, this is ridiculous. But if they're just going to do a giant rug pull, aren't they?
Yeah, well, with NFTs, it's kind of beautiful for them, isn't it? Because what they do is they allowed you to mint them, and they'll just sell them at a certain price. And so you buy them, and so they make their money just on you buying them. So they don't really need to do a rug pull like they do on Dink Doink.
I suppose, yeah.
So that they've already made their $1.5 million, and they don't care. Like they basically leave you with the $1.5 million worth of JPEGs. And yeah, and then the price goes to zero because guess what? No one wants to buy a stick figure with a dick on it off you.
Exactly.
Even though Jake Paul made it, like who cares?
It's literally no effort. Like this is, conversation which I had with my friends. One said, has anyone got NFTs here? Blatant knew that I was going to reply, why the fuck would I want an NFT? And he's just like, oh, some people owns it making money. I'm just like, you're literally buying a JPEG with a signature on it. And it's something which someone can right click and save. It's pointless. It is either money laundering, you're getting caught up in the FOMO, or you're just plain stupid. And he's like, but it's art. I'm like, this is an NFT. This is a prime example of what you are buying. A stick picture with a dick.
I think this one actually is a GIF, not a JPEG, because it swirls out a dick around.
Is it GIF or GIF?
So it's a GIF, yeah, GIF or GIF, yeah, whichever one it is. It's not a JPEG.
I always said GIF.
So I can't say JPEG on the blockchain. It's a GIF on the blockchain. So you've outdone me.
I just think, where is all this dumb money continuing to come from, though?
Stimmy checks.
That's what I don't get. No, surely the stimmy checks have ran out because people are still buying NFTs. So in another group, somebody sent me a message that the largest sale of an NFT was bought, and it was off a ship. I'll send it into the group, but I was just like, stop, surely people haven't got this type of or that type of money to mess about with.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it's being done by crowdfunding as well, so it isn't just one person. So even this, right? So even like Jake Paul here, he has tens of millions of followers. He only raised 1.5 million off this. So it doesn't mean like anyone's putting a large amount of money, and like each of these JPEGs aren't going for hundreds of thousands each. They're probably going for like, a couple of $100 each. And people are just buying them with essentially their wages, the leftover money. But it just adds up to 1.5 million. So it's a great little scam.
They've taken about 2 minutes to draw.
Yeah.
And we just started churning them out.
Yeah.
This is all NFT. They aren't even good pictures, most of these NFTs. It's just ridiculous how people are buying it. Like I said, it's literally some 1980s PC game art. That is what it looks like.
Yeah. I think they're almost like the Paul brothers are trying to laugh at it, aren't they? Like they literally said Dink Donk was the stupidest name they could come up with as a coin, but now they're trying to come up with the stupidest NFT they can come up with, and they've come up with stick figures with dicks. They are literally laughing at shit coins and then NFTs. They've done both of them, and it looks like they've made millions off both, and their fans have got wrecked off both. So you'd think that maybe their reputation would take a bit of a hit, but it just doesn't. People get wrecked, and then they move on and go, oh, well, I'll just buy the hoodie instead. Talk about getting wrecked. We got wrecked of the week.
Let's do it.
This is quite a complicated one because some guy back in 2018 had 1,000 Bitcoin. And for whatever reason, that was not enough money for this guy. So at the time, according to this article, that was worth about $4 million. So which means the price of Bitcoin must have been around $4,000 at the time. And he met with some guy and he decided, I don't like this Bitcoin thing going to 4,000. So I want to start shitcoining. So this guy goes, fine, give me 1,000 Bitcoin and let's investing in shitcoins. And he very quickly proceeds to lose all of it and go, yeah, it's all gone. Sorry about that, lol. And this guy goes, what the fuck have you done with that? So he kind of goes after him, hires a private investigator, starts following him around, seems to like kidnap him and gets 2 ex-police officers to come with him, manages to get this guy to call up, finds out he hasn't lost all the Bitcoin, manages to recover 168 Bitcoin. He manages to get him to call his brother and I think releases some of his private keys to them, and he gets 168 Bitcoin back. But the second he lets him go, obviously this guy goes to the police and goes, he kidnapped me, what the fuck? And now all of them, I think, are facing life imprisonment for the various different crimes. Wow. And this is all in Thailand. This has all happened. No, Vietnam. This is all in Vietnam, this is. And you just go, this is the whole case of don't trust other people with your Bitcoin. Don't shitcoin. Don't kidnap people. Make sure your private keys are safe and that you can't call your brother up and he gives you the things. Just fucking
lesson in, yeah.
But to be fair, like the person who stole it did deserve it.
Yeah, he did deserve it because it looks like he just ran off with the money. He absolutely had it. He didn't shitcoin at all. I think he kept all the Bitcoin, which is kind of funny, which proves that even the shitcoin that comes up to you that goes, I'll make more money than Bitcoin, all he wants you to do is give him your Bitcoin, and then he takes the Bitcoin and runs. He doesn't want a shitcoin at all.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He didn't need to gamble.
He had 4 million, and if he just kept it, he'd now have 40 million. Instead, he's in prison for life. Mate.
Eating prison food and penis.
He's gonna wish his private keys were prison safe, because instead he's gonna be freaking prison safe with Big George next door. He's gonna be all for that. But man, what a sad story, right? That guy could be like $40 million he could have right now.
Just to think, and it's only good. I mean, I know we talked about price earlier on, but one of the things I've really realized is we don't actually really talk a lot about price, which is good on the podcast. But he could have really like done something with his life, and I'm sure it didn't really sound like, most Bitcoiners are not like that. So obviously he got to that stage because he was so irate that he'd given the Bitcoin away to this point. But what a waste.
1,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Did so well. He literally. The problem is, like, back then, like in 2016, 2017, like 1,000 Bitcoin, like it was like $1 million or something. And when he first bought it, it was $1 million. It probably went up to 4, and he's like, he wasn't happy. He's like, no, I need. Obviously, wanted to do more and wanted to like do kind of shitcoin type gains. And look where it led him. It led him life imprisonment. So maybe it's the ultimate lesson of not to shitcoin. He ended up like life imprisonment. Not only do you end up with nothing, you end up in prison. Yeah, do you want to do word of the week?
Yeah. Let me get on that.
What is an ETF?
Okay, so here we go. So, what is an ETF, an exchange traded fund? So last week, as you may have realized, for those that tuned in, we've now got a new point of the podcast, which is Word of the Week, where we bring to you a word from Investopedia that is typically Bitcoin related. So this week's Word of the Week ETF is an exchange traded fund, and it's a type of security that tracks an index, commodity, or other asset, but which can be purchased or sold on a stock market the exact same way as a stock can. What we should also say is that you can create your own ETF as well by putting together a bunch of various different stocks. So a well-known example is the SPDR and S&P 500 ETF, which tracks the S&P 500 index, and which has been really good so far over the last couple of years because naturally the S&P 500 has been going up, but not up as much as Bitcoin. Let's just remember that. If Bitcoin's been going up 200%, I'd say the S&P 500 has been going up around about 20%. The key takeaway of an ETF is an exchange-traded fund is a basket of securities that trade on an exchange, just like the stock does. The ETF share price fluctuates all day as the ETF is bought and sold. This is different from mutual funds and that only trade once a day after the market closes. ETFs contain all types of investments, including stocks, commodities, or bonds. Boo. Some offer US early holdings, while others are international. There's various different types of ETFs, so I won't read them all out. You can click on it yourself, but there are bond ETFs, stock ETFs, industry ETFs, commodity ETFs, and currency ETFs, inverse ETFs. So how to begin investing in ETFs? Find an investing platform, research the ETF, and then buy the ETF. This is not financial advice, but that is Word of the Week. Well, you're still on mute, Mr. Rowland.
God damn it. Yeah. as I said at the end, it's not financial advice, but buy Bitcoin or have fun staying poor. But yeah, so the whole ETF thing, this is it's banded around a lot in Bitcoin because it's almost like the holy grail of like being accepted in the financial world. If you have an ETF, it's one of the hardest things to get approved because it's a collection of stocks, not just a single stock. So we still don't have a full Bitcoin ETF. We have a futures ETF where you can bet on the future price of Bitcoin, but that's like a bit of a poor man's version. You just want to invest in the asset itself and make sure, just like you have a gold ETF, so the more money that goes into the ETF, it means the people running that ETF have to make sure it is backed 1-to-1 with gold. So if we get a Bitcoin ETF and shit tons of people start plowing into it, it means that fund needs to make sure it's backed 1-to-1 with Bitcoin. And big buyers of ETFs are pension funds. And pension funds have trillions and trillions. So even if we manage to get a Bitcoin ETF listed and some of the big pension funds go, you know what, we want like a 0.5% allocation to Bitcoin, then just that sends Bitcoin to the moon, because that is trillions of dollars coming flying in. Just because all they want, right? They don't want to do the whole self-custody, all that bollocks. They just want to buy an ETF. And these hedge fund managers are lazy bastards. They get paid tens of millions a year, but they're lazy. And they just want to be able to go, all I do as a job and charge everyone 1% is type in a number of ETF codes. And that's what I put your pension fund in. So if Bitcoin's in the list, they're like, add it to the list. I've done my job this year. and just by doing that and allocating 0.5% of your pension fund to Bitcoin, they'll suddenly start outperforming by like 2 or 3% of all the other pension funds. So very quickly, all the other pension funds are going to copy. But it's a good word to learn.
It's what I was thinking about, and I know we were talking about it before we started recording, is things like if you put or created an ETF that included MicroStrategy, Coinbase, Square, then that could be a very good performing ETF. Again, this is not financial advice, it's just an example.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people that have already done that. Because I think you can do it yourself. Like, you don't need an ETF to do it. So why the ultimate ETF in Bitcoin is why, even if there's ever an ETF on Bitcoin listed, I would never advise anyone to buy it. Never buy that. Do never buy paper Bitcoin. Like, no, you're trusting that whoever's running that ETF is backing the fund by 1-to-1 in Bitcoin. You're trusting them. You can't verify it. You have to trust them. And you don't need to do that at Bitcoin. Just buy the Bitcoin on the exchange, send it to your ledger. Why would you ever do anything else? Like, you have to do that. But it'll pump the price. So I say that's why we're kind of interested. But it isn't what Bitcoin is designed for. Like, ETFs kind of break Bitcoin to a certain extent, because once you have an ETF, let's say you have like $1 trillion worth of value in an ETF, you assume it's back 1-to-1 with Bitcoin. They might only have 10-to-1 of Bitcoin behind it. So what they've essentially done there is artificially inflated the supply of Bitcoin, because there's only 100 billion worth of Bitcoin has been purchased and backs the fund, but they have sold that at a 10-to-1 ratio. They've done fractional reserve banking the other way and sold $1 trillion to everyone else. So there's 900 billion there worth of value that has not entered the Bitcoin network and is just sat in whichever fund this is, which is when then suddenly, like, now we've got IOUs, and this is where we get fiat from again. And that fund will essentially go pop at some point, because if everyone asks for their $1 trillion worth of Bitcoin out, they can't do it because they've only got 10%. And that's why banking crises happen all the time. So the end result of all these ETFs, unfortunately, probably they'll go pop if they get greedy. The ones that do 1-to-1 will be fine, but the ones that get greedy will start doing fractional reserve. And they'll go pop on a downturn. Bitcoin will reverse 40% or something. People get scared. They'll sell their ETF and go, I want to get out. And it goes pop because they don't have enough Bitcoin to sell to give you your money. And that's what happens with the housing market or the pension funds. And So,
Cool.
do you want to move?
With us, Mr. 10%?
He's still here. He's on mute.
Yeah, just muting because of my coughing.
Cool. Do you want to go on to Bitcoin lesson of the week?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded interesting. I had a quick look at the website.
Yeah, it's a new website from the Bitcoin magazine. And essentially what it is, it's free to sign up. And if you sign up, you get 21 emails over the course of 21 days. And they educate you about Bitcoin. I think they launched it yesterday. So I signed up. I've had 2 emails so far. They've been pretty good, pretty educational. And on day 21, you get a quiz. And obviously I haven't done the quiz yet. I'm still 19 days away from the quiz. But once you do the quiz, you get 2,100 sats for free, sent to you via Lightning to whatever wallet you want. And I think if you get over 17 out of 21 correct, then you get into a prize draw where you might get 1 million sats. So at the moment, I think they're basically giving you about £1 in cuck bucks worth of value of sats. But then there's 1 million there. So 1 million, what's that? Well, now about £500 worth of cuck bucks. So that's the decent amount if you manage to get into the prize draw and maybe win it. Who knows? But yeah, it's another, like, obviously it's a
good bit of fun and I guess really educational at the same time. I do really rate the educational stuff on Coinbase as well. If you've gone through it and read it and seen it, as well as obviously taking the free sats that they offer through the courses.
Yeah, there's no good content in that. It's just shit coins that you can convert into sats. But I've never actually read the Bitcoin content on Coinbase. Is it actually good?
Yeah, it's good if you didn't know anything and it's there. It's educational. Yeah, it's pretty decent.
Yeah, the problem is it's just full of you're one click away from being told the same thing about Ethereum and Dink Doink and
Shib, mighty Shib,
and stick it. and it kind of undermines it, doesn't it? When you're getting told the same level of confidence in Dogecoin as they do about Bitcoin, you go, what the fuck's this? Whereas this stuff is 100% Bitcoin. So yeah, maybe like
I signed up to that.
Yeah, it's literally you got to do is put your email address in and you signed up and then you get a free £1 of Bitcoin in 21 days. It's just another tool to the army, right? There's so many ways of trying to get people onboarded. And this might be a thing, like, get people to type their email address into here. Like, who knows? I think for everyone listening to this, they're probably not going to learn very much from these emails, but it's for the people that contact us. Maybe this is another way of like spoon feeding them 21 lessons into Bitcoin. Maybe. They get some free Bitcoin.
We're all about free Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
Or the ability to trade and convert and exchange into Bitcoin as well. So if you want to give me the shit coin, I'll trade it.
Yeah. By the way, there's a few more shit coins on Coinbase that you can trade up.
It just isn't working for me lately. It isn't letting me give me any lessons.
Oh, there's literally a new one today. If you check it now, there's not the one there now.
So I'm just going in now to have a quick check because I always go in, flick through videos unless I've been banned. Oh, Stellar Lumens. Oh no, I've earned that one.
I've earned everything pretty much.
Yeah, there's another one today. There's another one today.
I don't know if I go through the videos too quick or something. I haven't got the last few.
All right, no, I go through it as quick as you can. I just go next, and my average answer time is like I get 3 wrong before I get the right answer. There's only 5 options, so I couldn't have worse stats, and I'm getting it all.
Yeah, I've done pretty much everything on there.
Anyway, last story of the week.
Right, yeah. Last one to round us off. And that is and finally, Pharrell wants to play a song for Satoshi.
Yeah, it's a bit of a random one, right? So he literally tweeted out, I know this is a crazy question, but in 2011, I did a song with Diplo, whoever that is, called Bitcoin. Can somebody find Satoshi Nakamoto? I'm trying to play it for him. So he just throws that out there into the metaverse and just goes, I don't know whether he's being serious or not, And Michael Saylor replies like, "We're all Satoshi. Just play it," That. And I've tweeted back to him as well, going, "I'm Satoshi." Like, it's like the whole, "I am Spartacus,"
Yeah.
But who knows? Like, it might be just like random promotion for a random song he's trying to do, or I don't know if Pharrell seriously thinks that he wants to play Satoshi, the song of Bitcoin that he's done for him, and he thinks he's a person you can just ask on Twitter and he's going to show up because Pharrell's famous. But who knows? I thought it was funny.
Yeah, see, I don't know where it's coming from, that, because Pharrell is a proper, like, super geek. And so I'm sure he is fully aware of Bitcoin, fully aware of who Satoshi Nakamoto is. So, yeah, I don't know why or where it's going.
Has he actually said anything about him liking or being into Bitcoin previously?
Not that I've seen, but...
Because he's claiming here that he wrote a song called Bitcoin in 2011.
Exactly, which is really early.
Is it going to be as good as the Island Boys Bitcoin song?
Yeah, it's strange. And he's also saying that he did it with Diplo as well. So it's not just doing it by himself, but with another artist that's fairly big.
Yeah. He might just be trolling and then want everyone just to like get outraged with him, go,
yeah,
bollocks, we don't believe you, let's see the song, and then he'll release it on some random platform, pay-per-view, and yeah, who knows? And then everyone pays him loads of money to listen to this Bitcoin song, and he made it last week, not in 2011, but who knows, eh? If he genuinely made a Bitcoin song in 2011, it would suggest that maybe he brought some Bitcoin back then as well, and he's probably already wealthy. So
yeah,
he's going to be uber rich now, because 2011, Jesus Christ,
yeah.
we're in the realm of $1 to $10 Bitcoin back then. So that is pretty much it. Other than the early developers, like that was 2011 is the earliest you could have got in as a normie, unless you were a developer. 2011 is day one. So he was right there at the start if he's telling the truth. I have a feeling he's trolling.
Yeah. I'm going to look into that to see if I can find anything more about it.
Yeah. Go and see if Pharrell's bullshitting us or not.
Yeah.
There's people that are skeptical going, he's trying to get the crypto crowd interested in Pharrell because he's about to drop a load of NFTs. So he's just chatting shit. I hope it's not something like that. I have a feeling that might be what it is.
It'll be NFTs. Will it be better than stick dicks?
I doubt it. I think that's peak NFT.
I don't know. I quite like the animal ones. What was that called?
They didn't have enough.
Is that the monkeys, the bored apes?
No, this is where they got pictures which are available on Google image search and then Photoshop them together. So I think it was a pig mixed in with a pug or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, well, there we have it. I will take us out. This has been pod number 33. We're still here, uncensored and not cancelled. Dr. Evil 10%, Mr. All-In, myself, Sir Neverlook, and she was here, she was never here, Mrs. No Show. Fellow plebs, if you want to hear us, then yeah, tune in.